Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show, we're talking about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Sinner. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, what's interesting, though, is obviously Jamie, as he was running away, ended up kind of going into another jurisdiction, so technically, there's nothing, like, legally or from a police standpoint that Harry can actually do, but he actually kind of follows Jamie. Jamie ends up in an art gallery. Lo and behold, he ends up running into one of his former students and stuff like that. But then, like, Harry keeps following him around. It's like, oh, they end up at the bar, and he's like, this is kind of harassment and stuff like that. It's like, well, you want to file a formal complaint, you can always, call the cops on me and stuff like that. But Harry is afraid to leave him alone because Harry's afraid of, like, what Jamie might do if he's alone, to himself or to someone else. But obviously for Jamie, it's this whole conversation about, the fact of the matter is, like, once again, it's that existential thing that I'm not 100% sure of, like, how for him, it's like anytime someone wants to talk about the conversation of death, he's like, no one really wants to have that conversation when you think about just the fact of the matter is how our lives are just, like, coming, when it comes to the conversation about death, no one wants to really have it or whatever. And so he starts hanging around this dude. These dudes start striking up a conversation with them. Then, brings some ladies into the fold, brings Harry into the fold by saying, like, oh, this is my Uncle Harry and stuff like that. And it's like, and he starts almost making it seem like, it makes it seem like casual, like, okay, like, where is this going? Because he's getting all friendly with these people and he's just kind of forming in a circle and everything. Like, ha, 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 ha. But then, like, they actually go back to the hotel. Like, the dudes and the ladies got to do a little drinking and drugs. But then things kind of take a turn when Jamie's kind of like, okay, so, like, the fact of the matter is he's like, oh, I'm just kind of examining. He's like, looking at you two. It's a beautiful thing. Basically saying this whole thing of, like, we're all kind of trying to escape something. The fact of the matter is we're kind of like, we're all afraid. He's like, I get it. He's like, I'm afraid. You're afraid. We're doing whatever we can, doing drugs or randomly just banging someone, like, just for the sake of trying to get past their fear and stuff like that. Guy didn't appreciate everything Jamie was saying and kind of pushed him away and just said, like, what was it? Like, he said, he might have actually used the F word. I don't remember. Like, he was saying, like, oh, get out of that gay shit. And it's like, oh, it's like the moment we're trying to have, like, that conversation about fear and stuff like that, you're referring to it as being some, like, gay shit or something. And basically he's saying, like, oh, you're saying all this, especially when your life is so close to an end. And then, like, he slices his throat, hurts the lady, and then also, like, bashes the other dude's head into the table. No, what happened was Harry tried to use his gun, but Jamie grabs Harry's gun, the gun fires and shoots the girl, and then, like, he bashed the other dude's head in. But then we snap back to it, and that none of that happened, and Jamie and Harry ended up leaving. And it's a situation where, for Jamie, it does seem like he just is angry because basically, he ends up going to a party with one that his student had invited him to, and there's that whole conversation about, like, we're all caged animals, that basically because basically he had talked about the fact that Nick was the most honest person he had known. Like, Nick had never told him a lie and stuff like that, but for him it's this thing of, like, Nick was so true to himself, like, he never let stuff, like, essentially he's thinking, like, basically we're living this pseudo reality, and I'm putting words into it. It's this really complicated thing of, like, basically saying because we're kind of putting these labels on ourselves. We're living kind of this false, so we're not even being true to ourselves. We're creating what's right and it's what's wrong. These are moral constructs created by us because animals don't follow that same construct when it comes to, like, the way they go about things. That's a conversation in particular, like, because obviously, Nick was trying to push Jamie down this route and stuff like that. And, it's just kind of like, let's pick up where we started. He's like, I brought the supplies and everything. Then we go to, like, the whole digging the whole thing. And then, at the end of it, Jamie was like, yeah, we're almost ready. He's like, just give me a minute. It did seem like it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. The whole thing of, like, Jamie was going to lay down. They're going to use the tubing to let him breathe, but they were going to bury him alive. That's what it seemed like. But that wasn't the plan. The plan was to go after Sonya, which is interesting considering the fact is Nick lied to Harry because he tried to say, like, oh yeah, this thing, because, like, Harry is like, oh, like why do you, like, follow this, like, that toy thing, because it's like that paper thing of, like, oh, pick a number, pick a color, because he tried to do that to Harry earlier, and he's like, oh, pick a color, and, like, and Harry was like, I wasn't going to, and Jamie ends up picking red and ends up, it says go forward, and he couldn't bring himself to do it because he feels like I'm supposed to be taking those next steps, but I'm too afraid. Like he feels like his fear is keeping him down. Once again, the whole point of this is to get rid of fear, to kind of move past it, not to be afraid of death, but to face death, which is almost seems like facing death almost seems like, it just seems like straightforward. Like it's not like, he seems like, it seems like they're making such a distinction between, being afraid of dying, not wanting to die, and facing death. They make it seem like there's such a distinction, but it seems like you're just literally running forward to death. And I guess it's like kind of taking life back in your own control, because it's like, because people believe in some higher power and God and stuff like that. For Jamie, it's like everything is chance. But he had said, like, going to where Sonya was, it's like we were following this. There was no, but it's like, no, Jamie didn't know where they were going, but Nick sure as hell did. He was like, oh no, we're going specifically to Sonya's place because we're going to bring her here and we're going to put her down, put her here for good. So he was implying killing her, and Jamie was like, no, I didn't sign up for that. And Nick talks about it like he's done it before, that basically it brings you almost this clarity, because once you've kind of crossed that line, you kind of get free of everything. Once again, it's like what I brought up earlier, the whole thing of like animals don't have that morality. It's not a thing of like they kill something and then like God strikes them down or something. So it's like, why do, morality is some construct that, like he stopped getting existential. He started getting existential, which obviously Jamie was reluctant to go down this route, and obviously Nick was just like screaming out, because the fact of the matter is, it's like he's pushing because he's saying like, you can do this. He's like, I've never lied to you before. The fact of the matter is, you were so close to the edge last time, but I was there for you, wasn't I? And it's like, this is going to be so good for you. It's going to be so freeing, because like basically he's suggesting like, obviously Jamie's stuck in his box that is his life, but you can break free with this. You can finally just be free and just kind of be, I don't know whether it's just like be yourself, or just kind of, essentially it's like be your truest self, because like the whole thing is about the Ubermensch kind of being like a higher person, just kind of like rising above it all. That's why I think Nick's whole thing was like, I guess maybe potentially he reached that level, or maybe because he was like, because his whole thing was he believed in Jamie and like no one else did. And so for him, it's like he believes that Jamie can rise up. Like, I don't know whether Nick had reached what is essentially Ubermensch level. I don't know if he reached that, or maybe he was still in a process of ascending, and maybe he was trying to take Jamie with him. It's really hard to say, but now you kind of puts in the context of like, so they didn't choose Sonya by accident. It was on purpose, like at least on Nick's side of things. But then it kind of explains more about the car accident situation, why Jamie was waiting, because it's like the moment that conversation went down, I started piecing. I was like, so that's why Jamie was there, because rather than Sonya being the victim, Jamie ended up choosing, because of it, it ended up being Nick being the victim, and that's why Nick was so. Oh, okay. Because he realized like, oh, I'm going to be the one. I'm going to be that death that you look at, that you cause. And once you do this, you're going to be okay. Because even he's like, no, it's okay. He's like, it's all good. It's all good. The fact of the matter is, but despite everything, he's like, I know this is hard. You don't want me to die and everything, but this is good for you. This is good. Once this is done, you'll be okay. But you would think Jamie would realize it's not, considering like this isn't all going the way Nick planned, because it's like, he hasn't gotten better. Like, things haven't been okay since Nick died, but the argument probably could be because Nick was like, promise me you'll keep going beyond this, and Jamie was like, I will. So it could be the argument that like, oh, because I need to be pushing myself, all this is a test of like, I've crossed that one barrier, now I got to cross more and more. I got to keep pushing and pushing and going further and further. But every time he gets to that next point, he pushes back, whether it was choking that guy at the hospital, whether it was taking that step in front of the bus, taking that step off, that leap off the building. Like, he can never go to that next step. So that was the, real interesting thing. But then the moment like that guy who was like, oh, like he's like, I'm kind of like a guide or whatever. What does he say? I think he referred to his whole thing at the party to do was like, oh, my thing is like the guidance, like that lane between life and death. It kind of like, he can kind of speak on that. And it was like, oh yeah, there's a friend of yours who's kind of connected to you, like really connected to you. And he says that thing that sets Jamie off. So it's like, so it's so interesting. Like, it seems like you're trying to push towards that, but at the same time, you're so reluctant yet scared. But maybe like at that moment being scared, he just realized like, no, I gotta bury my fear. So he has Sophie in the what's her name, Sophie or Sophia, like his former student, and he's in a car with her, and it's like, oh, like let's do this game. The fact of the matter is, you keep going faster and fast. Well, you go fast and you never stop. because the whole point is just kind of like let's see where it takes you, like, but like the whole potential thing of like you could get hit. But you got to just keep going. You can't stop for anything. It was like a game him and Nick play, and obviously Harry's trying to like corner him off. But the moment the time came, it was almost a game of chicken. Not almost. It was definitely a game of chicken. Neither one of them slowed down. It ended up with them both swerving at the last minute. And I think in that moment, Jamie saw like, oh, Harry, you're just like me, And I think Harry didn't realize it, but maybe Jamie, and like I said, I get the feeling like in that moment, Jamie saw something in Harry to realize like you're kind of like me, that you're trying to, because he feels like, it's like Harry is, it's like, oh, are you really living your best life? You're divorced and everything. The fact of the matter is, it's almost, because like Jamie can kind of see Harry for who he is, in the sense that it's like, oh, you're kind of, why are you so obsessed with me? Like, once again, it's a thing of like, I think for Harry, it's like, maybe this is kind of the only way he can get any fulfillment. But even then, it's like, it's not enough. Because it was even something Jamie had brought up later on. He was like, what is it, like, do you ever get that feeling, like, do you ever feel lonely? Can you just be honest with me? And he was like, yes, I mean really, really lonely. Like, basically, you recognize, like, the earth is kind of, like, traveling throughout the universe, and that basically we're all, like, everyone around you is just, like, bumping and bruising themselves into other things and each other, and it's just enough to kind of just, you want to scream, and you can tell Harry kind of does it, because it's a thing where it's like, even when Harry's around other people, you can tell he once again, he feels uncomfortable, because I think for him, he just still feels lonely, even amongst the crowd. And once again, I think Jamie kind of likes the fact that he can find commonality in someone else who kind of feels like that, almost like a kindred spirit. And that's what he kind of found in Nick, I think, and maybe he kind of sees a little bit of that in Harry. Just, it's a complicated thing. Because earlier in the episode, Harry had said this whole line about, like, because it's like, yes, we're angry, but we get angry when we get hurt. Because Jamie had made that whole point about them being caged animals and stuff like that, being held by, like, certain, like, essentially, like, social limits and stuff like that we kind of put on ourselves. Like, for, it's just, I'm just not, I guess I just can't, I can almost understand where Jamie is coming from, but at the same time, it's still just kind of, I don't know, maybe it falls flat on me, and maybe that's kind of a good thing, because maybe when it starts making a little too much sense, maybe that's where you kind of go, whoa, that's a little scary. But I mean, maybe Jamie would kind of make the point of like, oh, when it starts getting scary, that means you need to push past that. You need to get past your fear. He's like, I get it. I'm afraid. You're afraid. We're all afraid type of situation. I don't know. I don't know. It seems like Jamie just feels like, it almost seems like he feels, not just seems like, it's just this whole thing of like, almost like people for Jamie, it's like people are living this falsehood. They're lying to themselves. They're like that, this reality that people kind of create for themselves isn't like the real world, The fact of the matter is people aren't really facing things like they should, like the way I don't know. It seems like he's like, we should all be afraid of death. Why do we fear death? But at the same time, he's telling us to face death. And I just feel like he contradicts himself. Especially him and Nick with this whole conversation about like, like I said, reality and all that. It I don't know. Because at the same time, you're like, there's some sense to it, but at the same time, you just feel like it's almost like you're making an excuse to. I get it, because you feel trapped and you're trying to be free. You're trying to be above like these morals, these rules that are kind of set for you. You just kind of essentially want to live your life the way you want to, kind of being true to yourself in a certain regard. But it's like, is that even? I don't know whether it is really them necessarily being true to themselves, like. Because it just seemed like they just have, especially in Nick's case, it just seemed like he was just having his own agenda to make Jamie into something. Because even he admits later on, he's like, I shouldn't have pushed you. But he's still kind of like, no, but everything, well, at least not have pushed you so hard. But everything else, oh, this is good for you. This is good for you. And I'm so curious why Jamie is just so sucked up in it. Like I said, maybe it's just because he was able to reach him. Because, maybe it is the fact is that Jamie is so angry. It's like the fact is, yeah, there is such like crap, but Harry was like, well, we kind of deal with it. Like everyone has their own crap that, we just kind of, we're so angry or we're sad, and we just kind of like, you kind of deal with it. You're not the only one that's angry. And Jamie's like, and I know, I get that. But I think for him, it's just the fact is that people are all angry. They have this anger, but they're not doing anything with it. I guess it's just kind of like they're bottling it up. And for him, it's a whole conversation of like people wearing masks and not just being, not, once again, being kind of true to who they are. So even, Harry's asking him to tell his wife Leela the truth. He's like, I'll wait out here. And you see Jamie kind of beating himself on the head, because I think it's that thing where like both his worlds are colliding. Everything with Nick and, this Ubermensch situation, but also Leela, because, what did Nick tell him? He's like, you have to leave it all behind, because it doesn't, because in the end, when you kind of reach the pinnacle of it, you kind of realize none of it matters, which would include his wife, his child. And so I think all of that, like dealing with all that, kind of driving him a little nuts. And then there's that situation where Harry hears about like a murder or something. He drives because he assumed, like, because he wakes up, after being asleep, and he's kind of worried, like, oh, did something go down? So what does he do? Like, he goes in there, and the guy, I'm gonna be honest, is that someone we're supposed to know? Because I was pausing and I'm like, are we supposed to know who that guy is? Or is it just some random guy? Is it supposed to be a thing where it's just like some random murder, and then it's kind of like, well, Jamie and Harry were in the area at that time, so maybe he was worried that maybe while he was asleep, Jamie snuck off and did that, or maybe he was thinking, like, because I don't think him and Jamie weren't separated enough for that to be a thing, but maybe he worried that something happened. Like I said, like, because I know I'm an idiot. In the comments down below, I'll probably end up finding out on my own, but that guy supposed to be someone we recognize, is what I'm trying to figure out. I don't know. I feel stupid, but I feel like we're supposed to know who he is, but maybe we're not. Because I start running through the people we met. I'm like, no, that's not that dude, is it? No, it's not that person. Like, so maybe it's just a random thing that Harry's wondering if it's connected. Maybe it's not. Part of my brain goes, you don't think it was Sonya, right? Well, can we personally know that Sonya has been stalking I'm blanking, Jamie, because she took a photo of him, and granted, that's not, I mean, maybe there's more to it, maybe there's not, but just the fact that she did that, just, like I said, it just makes me a little suspicious of her, just a tiny bit, because I'm like, what are you up to? So, I don't know, it's definitely going to be interesting to see ultimately where all this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.